Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class we will learn the Rashis and Masechta Shabbos on Daf Ches Amud Aleph. Let's begin. Kaveris, if a person threw a kaveris, a basket, says Rashi, Agulahi, it's round. Gevaya Yud, which is 10 tfachim high, says Rashi, Kalemer, meaning, Afilu Gevaya Yud, even if it's 10 tfachim high, Im Eina Rechava Vav Be'emse Isa, if it's not 6 tfachim wide, in its middle, Chayiv is Chayiv. So if it's not a 6 tfachim diameter, so if we have a circle, it's not 6 tfachim across, he's going to be Chayiv. And the reason is that Akati Chayfetz Ba'amuhu, because it's still just an object, Ve'eina Rishus La'atzman, it's not a Rishus for itself. Why is it not yet a reshus for itself? Because it's only a reshus minatera if it's 10 tfachim high and 4 by 4 tfachim wide. So how do we get from 4 tfachim to 4 tfachim wide? A requirement by a circle that the diagonal needs to be 6 tfachim. So that's what Rashi is going to come to explain. And before that, we'll just present a visual of it. So what we require by a circle is that it has to fit in it a square that's 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim wide. And the end result of that is we have to look at the diameter of the circle. So the line that's 4 tfachim doesn't touch the ends of the circle, and it's also not in the middle of the circle. In the middle part of the circle, which will correspond to the diagonal of the square, is going to come out to be 5.6 tfachim wide. And Rashi will address as well why we say 6 tfachim if here we see it's 5.6. But first we're going to bring out, and Rashi is going to explain why it has to be more than 4 by 4 when it comes to a circle, rather the diameter needs to be 5.6, and then afterwards he will address why we require in the Gemara 6 tfachim. So let's see it inside Rashi. Kedarminan be'erevin, like we say in Erevin, the whole shear and the Shabbos, that all the shear and all the measurements of Shabbos, tzarich valach seisen, we need them and their diagonal. V'davar ogel, and a circular object, kimar ba'as lemiteichoy, when one squares it from the inside, umafka igel shesaviv haribua, and removes the circle that's around the square, le'mashkachas be'dalad merubayim, you won't find 4 by 4 squared, if the circle isn't close to 6 tfachim in the diameter. And like we said, it's 5.6. Like we say regarding a sukkah that's made like a furnace, which was a round object, that must one find in it a diagonal of a square that's 4 by 4 tfachim wide. So we also have that by sukkah as well. Now how does it come to be 5.6? And then why do we say 6? Rashi will explain. The way it works is that every tefach of the squared part, when it comes to the diagonal is always longer, is going to be a tefach and 2/5. So it comes out, so it's 5 tefachim and 3/5. So we'll just show that one more time. And then the next part of Rashi will address why we said 6 tefachim. So we have the circle. If we're going to place it in a square that's 4 by 4 tefachim, so it's going to come out to be 5.6. How do we get 5.6? Because we said every tefach is a tefach and 2/5. So for the 4 tefachim, we have 4 tefachim for the diagonal. And additionally, we need 4 parts of 2/5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 parts of 2/5. So we have a total of the 4 tefachim, an additional 1, and an additional 3/5. So that's how it comes out to be 5 tefachim and 3/5, which is the equivalent of 5.6. 3 over 5 is the same as 6 over 10. Now Rashi is going to explain why we say 6 tefachim and not 5.6. Va'abaya loydok. And Abaya wasn't being exact when he said 6. U'lechumra hu loydok. And it's lechumra that he wasn't exact. He wasn't being exact by saying 6 because it's really 5.6. So why wasn't he being exact? Because he's bringing out a chumra over here. Well, afrisha mi isur Shabbos, and to separate a person from an isur Shabbos. So in other words, really a person will be potter if the basket is 5.6, because now we threw a rishus. Abaya extends the chiyuv and the isur all the way to 6 tefachim. Only once it's 6 tefachim do we say we look at it as a rishus, and he's not chayiv. That afagav the yesh kan alachsin be'ena rechav shisha. That even though there is a diagonal when it's not 6 tefachim wide, we already have the diagonal of a rishus hayachid. Mechayiv li midrabanan adi ika shisha. He makes him chayiv midrabanan until there's 6 tefachim. And now Rashi explains something here. But certainly regarding a carbon, he won't have to bring one. We're not going to obligate him to bring a carbon if he threw a basket that's 5.6, because he didn't throw an object, he threw a rishus. The havikazer rishus, because it's like throwing a rishus. So it's only midrabanan, and therefore there's no carbon involved. The Gemara continued and said, so this is all if it's not 6 tefachim wide. Rechav, if it is 6 tefachim wide, pater, he's pater. Why is he pater? Because it's a rishus for itself. Va'anan mi mishkan gamrina, and we learn from the Mishkan the din of throwing. That they would throw their needles in their work one to the other. So they threw objects, and they wouldn't throw rishuyas. Now Rashi is going to ask a question here. V'im timer, and if one asks, b'delei gevaya asara not mi rishus la'atzmehi. Why are we saying that if it's 10 tefachim high and 6 tefachim wide, then it's a rishus? As long as it's 6 tefachim wide, it's a rishus. We don't need a 10 tefachim of height. Which rishus is it? The hashma karmelis, because it's a karmelis. It's something which is 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide, and in the circle we need it to be 6 tefachim wide. If it's 6 tefachim wide by a circle, and it's not 10 tefachim high, it's a karmelis. So he also threw a karmelis. He should also be patur then. Says Rashi, Ahi lav midei raisa. That one, it's not midei raisa have a rishus that it's a rishus. Ela midei rabbanan, rather only midei rabbanan. Minatayra, this is just an object. The rabbanan made it into a rishus that added isurim, since it's similar to the carrying that's also minatayra. So therefore, since it's only midei rabbanan, v'lei lo hakol al divrei teiraban, it's not coming to be lenient on divrei teira, kigainzu like this one, shei pater mechatas, that he should be pater from mechatas. Minatayra, he's throwing an object, so he's chayiv. The Rabbanan made it into a rishus not to be mekel, they made it into a rishus to be machmer, that in certain instances a person cannot carry. He can't carry to the karmelis or from the karmelis. So therefore, when it comes to an area, will it be lenient, and we're not going to consider it a rishus. Now we continue in the Gemara, and we had the opinion of Rava, which said, efshar, it's not possible. Rava said that even when the person threw the object, this type of object he'll be pater for. So it's not 6 tefachim wide. If it's 10 tefachim wide, it's going to be pater, because since it's 10 tefachim wide, so it's not possible that there shouldn't be slivers of the horizontal reeds that are higher than the other ones, which are vertical. They're going to always be a little higher and go above. And they go higher than 10 tefachim, which is the ear of a makom p'tur. And since the whole thing didn't come to rest in Rishus Harabim, it's not an hanacha to make him chayiv, because the whole object needs to come to rest in a Rishus that makes a chiyuv here. And this we don't have that here, since part of it came to rest in a rishus that doesn't make him chayiv, in a makom p'tur. Then we said kfa al piyaf, he turned it on its top, v'zarka, and he threw it. He turned it on its top. The Gemara just says, it moves on to say if it's 7 and something, he's going to be chayiv. And he threw it, says Rashi. And this is a eina rechava vavkai. It's referring to the one that's not 6 tefachim high, and it gets explained in the Marsha, because if it was 6 tefachim wide, it should be. Because if it was 6 tefachim wide, then if it's 7.1. And then by 2.9 we say lavud, it comes out that this is a rishus, because it's 6 tefachim wide, and 7.1 plus a 2.9 extended walls is 10. So it's a rishus. He threw a rishus, so he wouldn't be chayiv. So Mashal explains that. So we're referring to the basket that's not 6 tefachim wide. It's certainly not a rishus. It's going to be an object. So the din is zayin u'mashu chayiv. If it's 7 and something, he's chayiv. Explains Rashi. Gvaya zayin u'mashu adayin chayiv. If it's 7 tefachim and something, he's still chayiv. V'kol shekein pchusim mekayin, and certainly less than this, less than 7 and a bit. Ela filu gvaya zayin u'mashu. Rather, even if it's 7 and something tefachim high, so it's a little more than 7 high. The ikal meimar that we can say since its walls are downwards. In other words, it was thrown upside down. And we established the halacha l'meisha mesina that we say lavud. Akati kula necha b'rishus harabim. Still, the whole thing is resting in Rishus Harabim. Tichimatya pachis megimel samach lakarka, because when it comes lower than 3 tefachim near the ground, va'amar behen lavud, and we say lavud by them, by the walls, v'hava anocha, and it's now anocha, it's resting. Akati kula ba'avi Rishus Harabim. The whole thing is in the ear of the Rishus Harabim. V'chayiv, and he's chayiv, because by 2.9 we say lavud, and it's 7.1. Coming out that it's 10 tefachim high in total, that's all part of the Rishus Harabim. But if it's 7.5 tefachim high, explains Rashi, potter. The same is true for 2 mashas, 2 bits, 2 somethings. It's also potter. So it's not 7.5, but it's even 7, like we said, to make it clear, 7.2, he'll be potter. And the reason is the mechimato l'pachas mishloisha samach l'karka, because when it comes to lower than 3 tefachim near the ground, amrinon lavud b'michitzeseha. We say lavud by its walls. We say that the walls go downwards. V'harei kimonachas, and it's like it's resting. So the object is now resting on the ground. So nimtzu shulel l'maylam asar. It comes out that its bottom is higher than 10 tefachim. Ve'ena noicha kula b'rishus harabim, and it's not all resting in the Rishus Harabim, because it's 2.9 we say lavud, and this basket is 7.2. So it's a total of 10.1. So 0.1 is in the makom p'tur. It says Rashi, uv'shaloik fa lekal lemeimar lavud. This whole discussion of lavud when it's not turned upside down, we can't say lovid. Because we only say lovid by walls. So that's why the discussion of lovid didn't come in the previous piece with the basket that was 10 tfachim. We didn't say lovid when it entered 3 tfachim, and then a significant amount as above 10 tfachim and in the Makom Torah. And now Rashi explains this one point over here, which is Vaham Milsa Bein La Abaya Bein La Rava. This matters whether according to Abaya and whether according to Rava. The Abaya Nami Moide de Be'inan Anacha Kula B'Rishas Harabim. Because Abaya also agrees that we require an entire Anacha in the Rishas Harabim. We would think from the previous teaching of Abaya, he doesn't care if the whole object's in Rishas Harabim, because although slivers are pointing into the Makom Torah, that's fine, because the object is mainly in the Rishas Harabim. Says Rashi, that's incorrect. Abaya also requires that the whole item be, the whole object be resting in the Rishas Harabim. It's just that Abaya doesn't consider slivers to be part of the basket. He's not concerned about slivers. But over here, but by this he agrees. For without the slivers, there's part of the basket that's higher than 10 tefachim. So not the whole basket's in the Rishus Harabim, rather part is in the Makom Torah. Even Abaya will agree that the person's pater. And Rav Ashi said we don't say lavud here because mechitzas l'seichan asuyas. They're made for the inside. La'niach ben dvash, to place in them honey, to place honey in them. V'loy l'chufen klape mata, not to turn them downwards. And therefore hilkoch ein kan teres lavud. Therefore there isn't the rule of lavud over here. The whole Torah of lavud doesn't apply here by such walls, because these walls are made for the inside.